Your stories will be structured by themes. These themes will allow you to develop your characters, your environments, and your storylines consistently, bringing a cohesion to your world and a continuity in your characters' world evolution. In order to establish your story's cohesion and in order to preserve this cohesion, once you've finished your story and you're editing your story, you're reviewing your story, you want to be aware of the themes you've chosen. If you're not familiar with this process, start with 4 themes. And from these 4 themes, you can expand to 8 to 12 to 16 themes. You'll always have up to 4 main themes regrouping all of the themes of your story. And you want to be able to establish categories in order to review the cohesion of your chapters whenever you start the chapter and when you end the chapter. So for each chapter, you have the possibility to develop what the theme means to you. So establishing definition prior to the selection of the themes is essential. This definition, the sense, the connotation you're giving to your themes will be displayed through your titles, the titles of your chapters and the titles of your scenes. They will also be displayed and expressed through the perspective of your characters: protagonist, antagonist, menace, and supporters. You will display your themes in each chapter, but also in each scene. The soul part of each scene, or the atmosphere part of each scene, will directly translate the themes you're trying to display through the climate, through the light, through the colors. Now, in characters' dialogue, in descriptions, in presentation of new groups and new stakes, the themes will be displayed. Whenever you're trying to establish a relationship between 2 characters or the relationship between a character and an environment, you are displaying your themes. And of course, every time you're presenting a new group, a new set of interest, a new set of stakes, and as we'll see later at the end of this video, symbols, icons, you'll display the themes of your story. Themes will allow you to establish a continuity in your stories and between your stories. By establishing the atmosphere through the themes, you establish the brand of your story or of your series. Themes as symbols allow you to create cyclical stories more easily, and establishing the link between the end of your story and the beginning of your story. So you can place a clear symbol or multiple symbols, each representing one of your themes, in the epilogue of your story, and replace the same symbols representing the same themes but with a different meaning because the context will be different in the introduction of your story. Themes will allow you to create a greater continuity between your stories, between your books, between your movies, between your games, if you're planning to create a series as of now. Finally, this continuity is translated by the simple nature of the themes. Themes will always be treated as individual words. So you want to pick your themes as individual words in order to conserve the simplicity of your storytelling. Your themes will allow you to create simple stories, to make what's essential on display: the identities of your characters, of your environment, the scale you chose, and exposing the stakes of your story clearly. You want your themes to be exposed simply. And by simply here, we mean just composed of one word. You want to pick your themes every time to be as symbolic, as iconic, as simple as possible. So composed of one entity every time. Now, this entity, depending on the kind of public, depending on the kind of perspective, depending on the kind of product you're trying to sell, will have different connotation, will be seen through these different perspectives. Which is why you want to be able to think about these different type of connotations in order to translate the emotion you want to translate with more predictability. Now, for this example, let's suppose that we want our stories, our series of stories, the stories we are writing this year, to be all about icons. Now, what would be our 4 main themes? Now, the themes we picked here are symbols, because that's the simplest definition of what an icon is. It's a symbol first. It supports, it's here to present a brand, your brand. It will be the manifestation of your dreams and your nightmares. So the same reality, but at 2 antipodes. Now, Now we've established the purpose of icons. How will you make use of it? How do we link all our themes? Now, we've added 2 additional themes in order to create more cohesion between all our main themes. Here, attraction translates the reality, which will link symbols and brand. You create icons, you display them through symbols, you manifest them through a brand in order to attract a public, in order to attract customers, in order to attract your public, and same thing for the characters in your story. On the other side, the nightmares and the dreams both belong to the semantic field of phantasms. They're both retranscription of what a phantasm would be if it was agreeable or disagreeable, as the connotation goes. Now, all those themes should be, to some degree, tied to one another. They may all belong to the same semantic field, but they may also belong to 2 to 3 to 4 different semantic fields. All you have to do is to argument now through your story to justify the links between your themes. In order to do so, you want to add some layers of complexity on top of these themes. For example, when it comes to symbols, symbols are supported by the connotation you would see through this symbol, through your perspective. Symbols are, by definition, made to simplify reality. You use iconography and symbolism to simplify an object. Same thing for brand. A brand translates a mission of a company, of a corporation, of an organization. It supports the message of this company, the message which is the exteriorization of this mission, and its end goal is sales. The other side, same thing. Dreams. And that's where you have to consider that all your themes will not have will not bear the same degree of objectivity or subjectivity. When we're getting into the dreams, phantasms, nightmare, things are gonna get a lot more subjective, because maybe you don't have a clear definition of what a dream is, you don't have a clear definition of what a nightmare is, contrary to what a symbol or what a brand is. So here, the themes, the sub-themes we use to support the dream themes are promise and expectation. Now, will it shelter on the side for now because it's more direct. It's a more direct, a more symbolic representation. But let's think about promise and expectation. Now, dreams, in the perspective of the reader, in the perspective of the viewer, in the perspective of the player, may be seen as something you expect to happen, something that's supposed to happen to you. There's some degree of entitlement in dreams, other than the execution that will lead you to the end goal you've placed for yourself. You, as the character, you as the main character, as the author, you've established that all your characters have dreams. And these dreams, as your story evolves, as your characters evolves, will turn eventually into goals. And these goals will or will not be achieved. So that's where the theme of promise happens. You pass from expectation, so the creation of the dreams, to promise, so the creation of the goal and the potential achievement or not, by letting your character evolve, by letting your story unfold. And that's where you have the ability to create the most important part of emotional attachment between your public and your character. You start with expectations for your characters and for your public, and they'll turn into a promise. Now you choose if this promise should be broken or fulfilled. Now, same thing for shelter. Here, contrary to promise and expectation, the shelter element will not apply to characters. It will apply to environment. You may remember we have phases, we have scenes in every story, which are the anchor phases, which are the phases of rest, in which your characters need to find a safe place in order to rethink their goal, in order to find their new goal. If they need to change them because the last crisis has costed them an essential character. Your characters will need to find shelters in your story, wherever they are literal shelters, where they can rest and prepare for the next crisis, or whether they are figurative shelters for both your characters and your public, which will allow them to preserve their dreams. Same logic for the nightmares, but on the opposite side. The dreams part will often apply to the encore chapter, whereas the nightmare part will apply to the crisis chapter. And all of that is linked by the theme of phantasms. Phantasms, which are the deformation of the icon, of the symbol, of the themes. If you want us to develop on any part of this last section, wherever it is the meaning of each theme, how to select pairs of themes in order to find some complementarity between two themes, or the link between any of the themes we've exposed today, leave your questions in the comment section and your insights as well. If you like this video and want to know more on this topic, this other piece of content may interest you.